So let's discuss hypothesis testing today. This is probably the most confusing topic in the whole of statistics. Not the math portion, the concepts, the ideas, the p-values, the alphas, all are put together, and type 2 error. So let's start. First of all, what is it? Well, basically, you have a null hypothesis, which is the default. And you have an alternate hypothesis which you want to prove, investigate. Mathematically, they look like this. For in this case, null is what we call H0, 0 is null, mu equal to 450, and alternate could be more than 450. You can also put as less than equal to 450 in this case. Here, for instance, the ratio of the two variances is equal to 1. That means they are equal. Alternate, they are not equal. So when you do F test, for instance, you could be getting into something like this. So now, next stage. What is our job here? Our job here to take sides, either this side or that side. Reject the null, that means you're on this side. Don't reject the null, that means you're on this side. Now keep in mind, we do not say we accept the null. That's technically not right. Because just because the doctor said patient is perfectly fine does not mean the patient is fine. If the defendant is not found guilty, doesn't mean that he or she didn't commit crime. So think of this situation. You open your fridge and there's a food item sitting there, maybe milk. Is it good? Is it bad? By default, food is good. Sitting in the fridge, you bought it, you paid for it, it should be good. But it could be bad. If you are in doubt, you decide. Now, what are the two options you have? One option is the food was actually good, but you are kind of scared and you trashed it. We do it all the time. This is called type 1 error. Reject the null when it is true. This is true. The food is good, but you rejected it. Other side of this will be the food was bad, but you ate it. And this is, in this case, a bit more serious type error, type 2 error. Don't reject the null when it is false. When it is false, this is bad, but you did not reject it, which means you said food was good, you ate it. And of course, you have to face the consequences. So in this case, actually, we tend to minimize type 2 error. If in doubt, throw it away, because consequences are pretty bad of having bad food. The result of that will be we end up throwing lots of good food. No error when null is true and you did not reject it. Null is false, you rejected it. If food is good, you ate it, you didn't commit any error. If food is bad, you threw it, you didn't commit any error. If the person is innocent, you let the person go, no error committed. If the person is guilty and you penalize the person, no error committed. So you make the errors only when you have something like this situation. Otherwise, there is no errors. Okay, let's move on. Our next one, p-value. Now, p-value concept is a bit tricky one. What p-value really is, we are going to connect the whole thing together in a minute. Let's discuss p-value first. A p-value really is probability of getting what you got. So if the class average as claimed by the professor is 90, you get an average of 60 over 20 students. What's the probability of having that? It's very low. If the class average is in A, how can you get 20 people to all flunk the class, right? That's a very low probability. That's called p-value. Now what typically we do is compare the p-value to a reference alpha and decide what to do with it. But in a few minutes. So let's discuss p-value. I claim that 50% chips in the box are blue, at least 50%. Am I right? Am I wrong? That's your job. Well, you take a sample, usual thing. This is our hypothesis. Null is more than 50%, equal 50% or more. Alternate is 50% or less than 50%. If you don't question me, by default, the box says 50% or more chips, blue chips. If you question, we have to prove it. So always have to prove this one. By this stage by default, this needs to be proven. Okay. So you pick 30 chips, 14 are blue. Proportion is 46.7%. Well, I said 50%. You're getting like 3-4% below what my number is saying. What would you do? And as we all know, common sense tells us that when you take a sample, you're likely to be slightly off. So I expected 15 blue chips. I got 14 chips. It can happen all the time. So you will not be saying that I will not agree with you. I'm not going to reject the null. You will not reject the null hypothesis in this case because it's just close enough. Remember, not exactly 50%, but you gave some room for the error. Okay? Here, you pick 30 chips, 2 are blue. Well, now it's only 6.7%. Now you're wondering, wait a minute. If 30 chips I pull and half of them supposed to be blue, I could be getting 14, could be getting 12, maybe 10, maybe even 9. But how can I only get 2 blue chips? That's not going to happen. In that case, you're going to say, I reject the null and I don't agree that 50% chips in this box are blue. So do not reject, reject. What if suppose you get a 0% blue chips? Well, you are thinking right now, yep, I got to reject it, but not really. Look at this. You pick 2 chips and there are no blue chips. Proportion is only 0%. Proportion is 0%. What would you do now? Reject? None of us will because you only pull 2 chips. So it's not only proportion, you also look at the samples and all that. I use the binomial distribution to find the probabilities. So here are the probabilities. If the population is 50% blue chips, you pick 30 chips, there's about 13.5% chance you'll be picking exactly 14 chips. That's quite high actually. This will be 0% and this is 25%. So here we talked about p-value and we also mentioned alpha several times. The frame of reference, how these things are related. So here's a company called Vixet and the company claims that 32-ounce fruit drinks has only 150 calories that they produce. Standard deviation is 18 calories. This is because of the machines, because of different kind of fruits, varieties, seasons. There's some variation there that we all understand. A consumer group tests the hypothesis by taking a sample of 16 bottles. It measures the average number of calories X bar in the sample. Okay. So basically they took 16 calories, 16 bottles, and they found the average number of calories. So here is our information. By default, 150 calories. You can also write this way. Both are good. Now, why do we have greater than here? Because they are saying only 150 calories. That means 150 or less. So if they're wrong, it has to be more than 150. We are trying to prove they are wrong. They're putting more calories in a bottle. So we have this one. So our mean is 150, sigma is 18, and the sample size is 16. And with that, we have this more information. Sigma x bar equal to, again, this from the central limit theorem, from sampling, and you must know this one before you move forward because these are the key things. And I have a videos on this one, or you can watch some other videos or read your books, and also on the normal distribution too. Same thing applies. But we are not going to spend time here explaining these things, otherwise this video becomes very long. So we're just going to move along. So here what we have is mean 150, and this is a rejection side. You know what that means now. Anything on this side, wrong. This side, right. So we're going to find out what this number is, and then when you take as x bar, if x bar belongs here, reject the null, belongs here, don't reject the null. Same thing. And here we have 5% alpha, which means this is 5% right now. We'll change it to 1% later, the 5%. This becomes 157.40. Why? Because 150 plus the z-score times 4.5, which is sigma x bar. Once again, if you know normal distribution, this is easy. It's a piece of cake. And now let's try different scenarios. Our sample mean is 155. 155 means it's going to be sitting somewhere here. Do not reject. 156, do not reject. 157, do not. 158. Now 158 falls here. Rejection side, we reject it. 159, which is this line, reject it, and so on and so forth. Okay. We can compare the sample mean to the cutoff 157.40. If the mean falls on this side, don't reject. This side, reject. But let's look at now Z scores. Z critical is 1.645. Z critical is same thing as Z stat, Z score, they're the same things. We call critical because it decides between rejection and not rejection. So the Z score for alpha 5% is 1.645 from Excel, from norm, from table, from Excel, from R, from wherever. It's 1.645. Now look at Z-stat. Now Z-stat actually coming from the sample. When mean is 155, what's the Z-score? It will be 155 minus 150 divided by 4.5 to find the Z-score for normal distribution, 1.11. 1.645, 1.11. In the picture, 1.645 and 1.11. And we don't reject. 1.33, no. 1.56, no. 1.78, yes. 1.645, 1.78, we reject. And rejection. So what we're saying is, you can look at also the Z critical and the Z stat and again decide reject or not reject. Right there. Let's look at the third column now, p-values. Now what is p-value? Remember, p-value is probability of finding what we find or worse. So if the mean is 150, we agree the mean is 150. Yes, fine, mean is 150. What are the chances of me finding 155 calories average when I take a bottle, 16 sample bottles? Well, that will be 13.33%, which means if the mean is 150, there is 13.33% probability that you're going to find 155 calories average in a sample of 16 bottles. Well, 13.33% will be out here somewhere, right? That's 5% increasing this way. So it's going to be somewhere out here, which means don't reject. 156, 9.12%. 157, 5.99%. Pretty close right here. 6% versus 5%. Still don't reject. At 158, we switch sides. Now we are going to looking at right here. And what's p-value? P-value will be the left of the line. That's p-value. Now look at the red line now. 159 right here. 2.28%. So what's 2? 2 is the z-score. That means the z-score from there to there. That's 159 minus 150 divided by 4.5. That's z-score, 2. 2.28% is the probability of finding 159 or more. That will be right here. There. So that's p-value. Alpha is 5% from there to there. So basically what we're saying is that the p-value is less than alpha, reject the null hypothesis. Look here. More than alpha. More than 5%. More than 5%. No, no, no. Less than 5%. Reject. Reject, reject, reject. Now we have 3 ways of doing things. Compare the sample mean or sample statistics to the cutoff. You decide from there. Or you can compare the Z critical to Z stat and decide. Or alpha to p-values. All 3 are good. They give the same result. Now instead of Z, it could have been T if you had T table. T stat, T critical. abstract, app critical. So really, Z, T, F, chi-square doesn't really matter. It's always the critical score versus what you get. So really, once you get the concepts clear, it's all the same after that. Now in literature, typically what we do is we report the p-values. So if suppose you read an article which says the p-value was 1.31%. Now you know exactly what's going on there. Based on what they found, the probability of that is only 1.31%. You can decide it's low or it's high. That's your job. But it's 1.31%. We don't need to worry about what the z-score was, what the cutoff was, what the mean was, nothing of that sort. It's simply 1.31%. Let's now look at alpha at 1%. So what we have done now is our black line, which was here, now shifted on this side here. So now z is 2.33. So this becomes 160.49 from normal distribution. So the cutoff is 160.49. Alpha is 1%. So what we're saying is that we become conservative. Our type 1 error has gone down. We are like taking less risk now and rejecting the null hypothesis. So what happens now? 155, no, 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 no. 159, no. 160, no. Only 161, yes. So at 159, look at the 159 now. Remember, the p-value didn't shift. The red line stays right here. That's Stephanie. That didn't change. This has changed now. So anything on this is wrong. On this side is right. And now the p-value belongs to the right side. So we don't reject. Now why we may change from 5% to 1%? Well, we become conservative. Maybe the consumer group is a bit scared. Or maybe it's a bit more practical. Saying that, hey, because of these process variations, because of different seasons, different fruits, we need to be a bit more forgiving when we accuse the company of being wrong. Or maybe these guys are very powerful. I mean, they are a huge corporation, and if you say something wrong, they can sue you. So instead of 5% risk, they take only 1% risk. So now at 159, at 5%, company was wrong. They are putting more calories. They could put a report, consumer group could put a report in the magazine. So based on our study, we found that Wixet is putting more calories than they advertise because they reject the null hypothesis. It's on this side here. But at 1%, they'll be saying for 159, we did a study, we took a sample, and we found the company is doing perfectly fine. The claim of 150 is perfectly fine. So what is right, what is wrong, really, it all depends on how much risk you're going to take. So that's exactly the whole hypothesis testing idea is right here. Now, players change. Instead of a normal distribution, you may have a t-distribution. You may have app distribution. Instead of a mean, you may have a proportion. You may have a variance. But the idea of p-values, alphas, etc. is always the same. When to reject, when not to reject, always the same. P-value does not change. It always stays here. Alphas is what you decide here and there. If you fall in the rejection region, you reject. Otherwise, you don't reject. So this is all for this video. In the next video, we discuss type 2 error, which is very critical, but one of the most confusing topics also. That's the one I have always problems in explaining type 2 error. So other than that, we are done with this video.